Make room, Richard Petty and Maury Gallagher. There's another 7-time champ. Jimmie Johnson is back in NASCAR. Woo! Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Bianchi drops in with another bombshell and involves my favorite driver, one of the greatest in NASCAR history, Jimmie Johnson. He's been out of NASCAR since 2020 when he retired full time, and he is coming back in 2023. Jordan Bianchi says Jimmie Johnson is finalizing a deal to obtain an ownership stake within the Petty GMS organization starting in 2023. Sources close to Johnson and Petty GMS have told The Athletic that Johnson will also drive in select races for the team. An announcement is expected this week. Amazing and shocking, so many different levels. All of us assume that if Jimmie Johnson were to return to NASCAR, it would be under the Trackhouse banner with Project 91. Project 91 Trackhouse, they have said that they would love to have Jimmie Johnson drive their cars. Johnson has said that he would like to come back and race some NASCAR races in the future. So we knew that Johnson was going to come back. But more likely, we thought it was going to be with Project 91. None of us thought that Petty GMS would be a part of this. Even though Noah Gragson coming into Petty GMS, technically under the Hendrick banner, sort of, the fact that Jimmie Johnson is going to be a part of this, going to have an ownership stake in Petty GMS next season is huge on so many levels, because Jimmie Johnson is technically going to be back in the NASCAR fold. And I look at Petty GMS now, when you look at what they've done so far this season with Eric Jones and what they're bringing in now with Jimmie Johnson, not only having a new owner like him, fresh new ideas on ways to help the team. He's coming from Hendrick Motorsports. Even though he's been out for a couple years, he has been with a big time team in Hendrick Motorsports that has won races and championships throughout all these years. You're having a guy that has so much knowledge as to what it takes to help create a powerhouse NASCAR team. And also the fact that Jimmie is going to be racing in 2023 select races. So not just one or two races, I feel this is going to be a lot more races that Jimmie will participate in. Remember, he can be eligible to compete in the NASCAR All-Star race. There is a criteria where if you win within 10 years or so, you can come back and race in the All-Star race whenever you feel like it. So Johnson technically can come back in the All-Star race, compete, and have a shot at winning the race. So you got that, Daytona, the Chicago Street Course, Bristol Dirt. There's a lot of new avenues that Johnson can take in running in select races. So this is huge on so many levels for, like I said, the organization of Petty GMS to have a guy like Jimmie come in. I also look at Jimmie kind of like a Kurt Busch type of guy. When Kurt Busch came to 2311 Racing, you can tell there was a huge difference. There were so many improvements made to that team this year with Kurt Busch. Having a guy like Jimmie come in with two young drivers. Well, I shouldn't say Jones is a young driver, but compared to Jimmie, he is. Jones and Gragson as your drivers, and having a guy like Jimmie not only having that knowledge from Hendrick Motorsports, but also coming in and offering some driving techniques and driving advice to Gragson and Jones will do wonders for them for 2023. I think when you look at a lot of the things they got building up, Petty GMS could be an underdog team either in 23 or 24. But regardless, this is unbelievable. Jimmie Johnson is back. You have no idea how happy I am. For those of you that watched me a long time ago, you know how much of a Jimmie Johnson fan I am. I am he was my favorite driver. So I was very sad to see him retire from NASCAR. But to see him coming back, I am elated for 2023 to begin, because I get to see my driver come back. What a moment. This is so out of left field. This is almost kind of like on the levels of Trackhouse. Well, I shouldn't say kind of on the levels, but this reminds me a lot of Trackhouse buying Ganassi, where it just came out of the blue. Like nobody was expecting this or even thought about that even happening. But wow. 2023, again, we're always saying NASCAR in the future, we're seeing new owners come in, Pitbull, Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin, Justin Marks, those guys, Jeff Gordon, going to take over Hendrick Motorsports. But I don't think anyone had Jimmie Johnson in their lineup as a NASCAR owner or part NASCAR owner. But yes, this is going to be very, very interesting. Petty GMS now with Jimmie Johnson back in the fold. It's going to be very interesting to see how that team operates with Jimmie now as part of the organization. But also very interesting to see which races Jimmie participates in and how he will do. Remember, he's been out of action for 3 years since 2020, which was also the Gen 6 car. So in a sense, yes, he's going to be kind of new in a sense of he's coming into an era with the next gen car, which is still fairly new, but still now all these drivers have a full year under their belts, and Jimmie Johnson is going to be, you know, fresh out of the water, having never even touched the next gen car. Not going to be thrown into the wolves and see how he can do. We know he's a 7-time champion, but with this next gen car, we've seen the top drivers we're expecting to win not win at all. Like Harvick and Hamlin haven't been those top drivers that what we saw in the final years of the Gen 6 car. Now they're kind of like there. They can win, but they're not the top dogs anymore. So very interested to see how Jimmie Johnson will do in his return. I do know that whichever races Jimmie participates in, I'm going to be there. I'm going to see my favorite driver. I don't care if it's 9 races. I will try to go to all 9 races, except North Wilkesboro, since I wasn't able to get tickets and that's already sold out. Also an update on Tyler Reddick. For those who don't remember, we talked about it a couple days ago. Reddick forced himself out of the race car early at Martinsville after not feeling well, you know, issues with his head, after running to the back of Noah Gragson on a stack up on a restart. We were worried that potentially that maybe, you know, Reddick could maybe suffer a concussion, because this was just coming off of last weekend at Homestead where he hit head on into the inside wall. So a lot of us were worrying that could Reddick be sidelined with a concussion. That will not be the case. Reddick has posted that he is 100% clear to compete at Phoenix this weekend for his final race at Richard Childress Racing before he goes on to replace Kurt Busch in the 45 car at 2311 Racing in 2023. So we are very happy about that. And we will also have another video coming out on Friday regarding the future of Kyle Busch Motorsports. That is something that was mentioned throughout the weekend. Also the future of KBM. They're going to be competing for the Truck Series Championship with Chandler Smith. The final time they'll be competing under the Toyota brand before they move over to Chevrolet. So there will be an update Friday regarding who the future drivers will be for KBM. So I have a video on that. Be sure to be on the lookout for that. But I am so happy Jimmie Johnson is back in NASCAR. I am so happy about that. I'm happy, mind blown. I'm ready for 2023. Let's bring it. Jimmie Johnson back in NASCAR.